SpaceX, Elon Musk's rocket company, they're going to take us to the moon, they're going to take us to Mars, and now they want to take us to the NASDAQ because SpaceX is set to IPO. And some of the numbers around this IPO are really worth talking about. It's reported that the company is targeting a $1.75 trillion valuation. Yes, you heard me correctly. That would immediately make it the 9th largest company in the S&P 500. It would be worth more than Berkshire Hathaway. It would be the world's biggest IPO to date. It would be worth more than Boeing, AT&T, Disney, McDonald's, American Express, and Home Depot combined. But is it worth it? Well, here's the interesting thing. Because SpaceX wants to IPO, they have to release this, an S1 filing, a comprehensive document detailing the company's current financial position. So we can actually figure out whether a valuation like 1.75 trillion actually makes sense for this business. So in this video, let's talk through the S1 filing and answer exactly that. What is SpaceX stock actually worth? First things first though, what even is this business? You may think rockets, but with SpaceX, that's only part of the story. In fact, there are 3 businesses to SpaceX that you need to understand to make this whole thing make sense. Business number 1 is of course the rocket business. This is the original SpaceX business, getting things to and occasionally from space. Now they do this for NASA, for example, resupplying the International Space Station. They do this for commercial customers. 80% of the total mass that was launched up into orbit last year got there on the back of a SpaceX rocket. So pretty crazy. And then finally, they're also their own customer, which is where their second business comes into it, Starlink. So Starlink is just satellite internet, but SpaceX are doing things differently because they make and launch the satellites themselves. And there are a lot of satellites, around 9,600 in low Earth orbit as we speak, beaming the power of the internet down to those little dishes that the 10.3 million Starlink customers currently have. So that is the second pillar. And then the third business segment is a newer one, and it's of course AI. So earlier this year, SpaceX merged in xAI at a reported $250 billion valuation, bringing together Grok, X, and the massive compute infrastructure that's needed to train and run these models. So 3 business segments, but next, how does each of them stack up financially? This is where things get interesting. So in 2025, SpaceX in total posted revenue of $18.674 billion. Now, interestingly, of that, $4 billion came from the rocket launches, Starlink added $11.4 billion, and the AI segment generated $3.2 billion. So most of the revenue actually comes from Starlink. But how does that change when we look at profitability? How much of that revenue the company actually gets to keep? Well, this is where things get even more interesting. In 2025, the rocket business lost $657 million on its $4.1 billion in revenue. The AI segment lost $6.4 billion on $3.2 billion in revenue. And Starlink was the only bright star of the bunch, generating $4.4 billion of operating income on $11.4 billion in revenue. So what does this tell us? Well, we're looking at a rocket business that's copying serious R&D, mostly Starship. We've got heavy investment into the AI segment, which is costing a lot. And sitting underneath it all is one very profitable engine in Starlink. In fact, in 2025, Starlink posted an operating margin of almost 39%, which is pretty nice, to be honest. But with that said, let's not romanticize it too much. At the end of the day, the reality is this. You've got a very capital-intensive core business spending heavily on Starship. Starlink is doing really, really well and effectively carrying the economics of the company. And then you've got this newly added AI segment that is currently just guzzling cash and likely requires pretty enormous investment for many, many years to come. So interestingly, consolidated in the first 3 months of 2026, SpaceX generated $4.7 billion of revenue and posted a $1.9 billion loss from operations. So that begs the question, is this company worth $1.75 trillion? Well, based on current earnings, no, it is not. But could it be worth that amount anytime soon? Because when you get numbers like this, it really just means people that are looking to get in are expecting massive growth in the near term. So with that said, what would SpaceX need to do to make this even a plausible investment idea? Well, in 2025, the business generated $6.8 billion in operating cash flow. Now, all of that and then some was eaten up by capital expenditures of the business. But for this model, I'm going to do something that we should never, ever do and just forget about the capital expenditures, forget about those investments. So let's say they keep every single dollar of operating cash flow as free cash flow. Now, this is stupid. Don't do this, but for the purposes of this example, let's just do it anyway. So we're being exceptionally generous to SpaceX, assuming free cash flow of $6.8 billion. Now, let's also assume that the business is able to grow at a massive 20% growth rate, so 20% per year for 10 years, and we only demand a 10% return on our investment each year while holding this thing. So we're not really asking for much in terms of return, roughly the same as an index fund. Also, I am assuming in 10 years' time that we can sell this business for 20 times its free cash flow. Yes, that is a lot of assumptions. No, this is definitely not reliable. Yes, this is definitely very silly, but I just wanted to see what the picture might look like. So if we did this discounted cash flow, we come up with a rough intrinsic value of $438 billion. So that's what the company would be worth to us today if they kept $6.8 billion in free cash flow per year, they grew 20% per year, and then we only asked for a 10% annual return. And by the way, if you wanted to learn how to do this calculation properly for yourself, for any business, that is exactly what I explain in this book. You can check it out via the links in the description. But the point is, $438 billion is not $1.75 trillion. And we were being generous. So why is SpaceX targeting this massive valuation, and are people actually going to buy this thing? Well, there's actually a few things to talk about here, and I want to give a shout out to a few people like Patrick Boyle, Ben Felix, and Casual Finance, who have all done a lot of the legwork in this area in their own videos on the SpaceX IPO, so I definitely encourage you guys to check those channels out too. But there's really three things we need to talk about here. The first is SpaceX's underlying motivation. Why are they targeting such a silly looking valuation from their IPO? Well, remember, when a company goes public, from their side of the fence, they are selling new shares to the public. They are raising capital. So in this instance, SpaceX is trying to raise about $75 billion from this process to fund their growth and expansion plans for, their mission to get humanity to the moon and Mars and to build out the AI infrastructure that's eating so much money right now. So the idea from the company's perspective is you want to pick the most speculative, euphoric time in the market to IPO, because it means investors are much more willing to pay high prices for your new shares, which means you can raise more money. Now, at the moment, the market is the second most euphoric it's ever been, behind 1999. Investors are willing to pay 42 times the average inflation-adjusted earnings to own the S&P 500. That's wild. So point number one, they're picking a very hot time in the market. It's very deliberate. Then point number two, they're kind of taking advantage of retail investors. Now, it's no secret that Elon Musk and his companies have cult-like followings. Even I love SpaceX. I would consider myself a fanboy of the business, of the company. I think it's really cool. I love watching the Starship launches and catching with the chopsticks. Honestly, I think it's truly inspiring. I really, really enjoy it. But a lot of people then go that one step further and they just kind of dump their life savings in these companies and they just back Elon Musk no matter what, and they never sell. And this is actually a really handy tool for SpaceX to use here. In fact, they know it's so helpful, they're going to set aside 30% of the IPO just for retail investors, as opposed to 5 to 10% that you'd normally see. Now, the reason, as Reuters notes, SpaceX is betting that these investors, many of whom have tracked the company for years in the private markets, are less likely to rush for the exits immediately after listing or engage in pop and dump trading. That's very interesting. And even SpaceX's own CFO said at a meeting of bankers in April, retail is going to be a critical part of this. So they know what they're doing. That's point number two. And then the third point we need to talk about is the passive investing effect. Now, I've spoken about this many times in past videos, but one of the biggest problems we're living through in markets at the moment is the massive inflows of cash being invested purely passively. So people buying S&P 500 ETFs or NASDAQ 100 ETFs like QQQ, they're not thinking about what companies they're buying. They're just closing their eyes and they're spreading their cash across the market. And that has been a very successful strategy over the years, don't get me wrong. But what it has an effect of propping up the companies that fall within those indexes. And because so much money these days flows into these indexes on autopilot, it's actually a big advantage to be included in the index. You get the benefit of people buying your stock that have never even looked at your financial statements. From a company's perspective, that is amazing. And why this is relevant for SpaceX is that the NASDAQ is currently changing its rules to enable fast tracking of large companies straight into the NASDAQ 100 index. And SpaceX wants in on that. In fact, back in March, SpaceX said to NASDAQ that this early inclusion into the NASDAQ 100 was a necessary condition for them to list their shares on that exchange. Why? Well, the NASDAQ 100 index supports over 200 tracking products with more than 600 billion in assets globally. So being included means hundreds of ETFs and investment products are essentially forced to buy your company's shares. It's just on autopilot, and that can support the price. You know, companies used to have to wait 3 months for NASDAQ 100 inclusion. That's quite sensible because it means that short-term hype and fluctuation immediately after an IPO doesn't actually affect the NASDAQ 100 index. There's a bit of a cooling off period. You couldn't really game your way into the index, I suppose. But with this new rule of inclusion after just 15 trading days, it's now much, much easier to hack your way into that index. And NASDAQ is actually doing this very deliberately to entice big private companies like SpaceX, Anthropic, and OpenAI to list on their exchange. So it's honestly a little bit broken. So the question of who the hell is going to buy this SpaceX IPO, it's actually everybody. Although for most of us, we won't even know we own it. It'll get jammed into our index funds, our retirement accounts, and there's really nothing you or I can do about it. And that's a big win for SpaceX, and it gives them a real shot of not only securing, but keeping a really lofty valuation. So they are the main takeaways from SpaceX's S1 filing. There are also a bunch of smaller things to talk about that I just kind of wanted to tack onto the end of this video too. A lot of people have been wondering about Elon Musk's pay package. Yes, it is absolutely crazy. They have granted Elon Musk 1 billion performance-based restricted B shares. Now, he doesn't get the financial benefits immediately. The award vests in 15 tranches, so 66.7 million shares each. And to unlock each tranche of that award, 2 conditions must happen. So condition A, SpaceX needs to hit a market cap target. So the company must reach 500 billion, then $1 trillion, then 1.5 trillion, all the way up to a $7.5 trillion valuation. And for condition B, the company must establish a permanent human colony on Mars with at least 1 million inhabitants. And Elon Musk must still be employed when the board certifies that achievement. So it's a big task and it seems pretty outlandish because let's be real, no one's getting 1 million people to Mars anytime soon. But buried in the filing is a very interesting detail. The restricted shares have already been issued to Elon Musk and they can be voted. So what this means is that yes, the performance targets may affect whether he ultimately retains the shares, but not necessarily whether they influence control today. And that's another big part of this IPO. Elon Musk has been very careful that he is going to maintain control of the company and its direction. In fact, the filing also says Elon Musk is expected to control roughly 85.1% of combined voting power before IPO. So whatever Elon says goes. And if you want to buy into this company, you're kind of forfeiting your say in what happens. So it is a very interesting situation. And honestly, I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. This is a very controversial S1 filing. I see a lot of people picking it apart. I'd love to hear from you guys. Is this an IPO you would buy into? Are you avoiding it like the plague? Let me know. Also, as I mentioned before, if you want more info on how to value a business the Warren Buffett way, check out the New Money Strategy today. It is out now. Thank you so much to everybody that has purchased a copy. You can pick it up via the links in the description and pinned comment if you don't have a copy yet. But apart from that, guys, please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. With that said, I'll see you all in the next one.